Hi, my name's Brian Cochran. I have an MFA from Washington University, and these days I'm reading William Carlos Williams, book 3 only, the rest, and stuff at the beginning. And this is Nayura Wahid, and aspirationally I'm reading Octavia Butler. I just got this, I haven't started yet. Let me look at these questions that Mr. Jean gave. He's a good friend. We went to MFA school together. Yeah, currently I work at a company named Exigy. It's a small engineering, well, smallish engineering firm with about 140 people. I'm a writer there. I guess you'd say a technical writer. The other keyword, if you're looking for such a job, would be like documentation manager or what else? Sometimes they say documentation content generator. I forget. Anyway, those are the buzzwords I'm aware of. I've been doing different kinds of technical writing since I got out of graduate school, and I think the field is pretty wide open for anyone with an MFA that's got good reading and writing skills, which is hopefully what you worked on, you know, during your time at Lindenwood. Let me look at the questions Jean wants to have addressed here. The writing I do is highly technical, and I had to learn computer science in order to do it, but I was paid to do that. And I feel that one thing my MFA helped me with was it helped me learn how to learn. It was kind of an extension of a liberal education for me, a classical liberal education. Also, I think if you're about to graduate with an MFA, you should realize that reading and writing are specialized skills anymore. Many people do not read or write well, and I don't mean just basic literacy. I mean don't take in information well, and can't write a paragraph or a page or whatever to save themselves. I mean, I'm talking about doctors, engineers, hospital administrators, all kinds of people. So if you have that skill, you have a specialized skill and you're highly employable. There's all kinds of different writing jobs out there, and that's kind of what I've always pursued. I mean, most people either go teaching or some kind of writing. I guess I'm thinking technical writing. Well, when I first got out of Washington University, I got a job in healthcare, and healthcare has lots of different kinds of jobs for writers. They have to write grant proposals. They have to write procedure manuals. There's a lot of, I was involved with the Missouri Department of Mental Health, and we had to do all kinds of regulation compliance work. The department I was in, I had titles like miscellaneous professional, which just means like an administrator that does everything or anything because he can read and write. And so I would write proposals for the doctors. The doctors would tell me the procedures they followed for certain conditions. I would write them up. I'd write letters from my boss. There's all kinds of regulations that have to be followed. So if you're a skilled reader, I mean, one thing I did was we'd have this kind of phone book, kind of thick manual for accreditation to keep the hospital accredited. the hospital I worked at, and I would read through the medical parts of it and explain it to the doctors. And then they would tell me, okay, then this is what we're going to do in order to comply with those regulations. And I would write up their procedures. There's all kinds of specification writers and more technical, in engineering, lots of jobs around Washington, D.C. for that kind of thing. The government needs all kinds of writers. Anyway, I think you'd be surprised. And, often your job won't say writer, but in the end, that's a lot of what you do. You read and write and think. I mean, basically, that's what lawyers do, for example. They have to understand the law. It's a reading and writing often and talking kind of work. Anyway, that's what I do. The MFA helped me a lot with that. It helped, I became a much better writer. I learned how to kind of loosen up and just write. And I write poetry, and to me that's, well, surprisingly, it takes a pretty good analytic mind, I think. There's different kinds of poets. Some people don't like to think about it. I was one who liked and still likes to think about it and tear a poem apart, or think about how it's working. And, learning how to write a poem is a very rigorous kind of writing. So if you can do that, I believe you can do any writing. I once interviewed at A.G. Edwards, and they wanted someone who had experience writing about benefits. And I read their benefits manual, and anyone, to me, anyone could have written that. But they said, I have a healthcare and poetry writing background. I haven't written about benefits, so I can't do that. Well, you'll run into a lot of that in the job market, but I don't think that's real. I could have done that job easily. I learned the job in healthcare. I've edited, I think, more than 70 medical books. I found some work with a medical publisher. And again, because doctors don't write, there's a lot of work for someone to go through their texts and cut out redundant things and fix their sentences and so on. And I really like that kind of work. I'm a writer, and I read a lot. So let me take another break here. Check this. Yeah, I would say that potential employers, some of them greatly value an MFA. And by that, I mean, for example, when I interviewed for healthcare positions, as a procedure writer or a, quality assurance professional, different things, they were always impressed that I had a master's degree. If I was just another person coming right out of school with a bachelor's, in healthcare, they really value education, and obviously the doctors have MDs, the psychologists have PhDs, there's masters in nursing, and everyone that interviewed me, found it interesting that I had a master's degree and that it was in writing. And of course, you have to articulately explain how you think this is going to help you and why it's useful, but it is, and it is valued. Getting a job in technology, again, I think, okay, let me start that again. Getting a job in technology, again, I think the master's degree in writing was valued, and it kind of set me apart from other people who, even people who had a degree in technical writing. Well, I could write better than they did. And the people interviewing me found it interesting. And I would share some of my poems if they asked about it. And it's something that really set me apart, I think. So don't think of this as a deficit in any way. It's a huge positive for you, and it will make you stand out once you start to find a track or some area that you can pursue. Yes, I do still write poetry away from the job all the time. It's what I do. I mean, that's what keeps me going. And I enjoy my job, and livelihood is a very good thing. And I appreciate having a good and well-paid job.